We'll go next to the only one of the mayor candidates who's actually a living, working artist right now, because he's a musician, Mayor Tony Hall. And while Buckley's getting here, thank you to Jessica Robinson Love, who flew back from Europe just to be here.
Oh,
Yeah.
wonderful. This is Counterpost, this great place.
Yeah, thank you all for coming.
Doing some amazing work.
Well, thank you. That's a great introduction.
3 minutes, sir.
Usually get tomatoes thrown at me, being the perceived conservative. It's a pleasure to be here to talk from the point of view of one of the few left-performing artists here in the city. Many of you know that I'm running for mayor, and I'm running on a platform really of reform. I'm married, 7 children, all born and raised here in San Francisco. Most of them, thank God, still working here. I'm running as an independent. I'm not running for higher office. I'm running to return the office of the mayor as a servant of the people, not serving the special interests that have been running San Francisco for the last 20 years. As many of you know, I've had an extensive background working for the city as an executive in 7 different departments in all 3 branches of government, the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. I was also a supervisor for 4 years, where I supported almost all the arts initiatives coming before us. And then I went to Treasure Island as the executive director for 1.5 years, and that was something that was written in the history books. I'd be glad to explain that a little bit later. My platform is based upon 6 elements that I have found out are absolutely imperative for good local government. And I'll run through them. Each element has 6 points to it, but I won't, with limited time, get into all that. 1, the elimination of systemic corruption, a zero-tolerance policy. 2, how do we use the local government to promote small business, jobs, and the arts? 3, total budgetary and fiscal responsibility. 4, administrative accountability, which takes in our pension reform and homeless renewal, if you will. 5, safe and clean streets, dedicated annual appropriation to achieve that. And lastly, an open, honest, transparent government that serves you, the people of San Francisco, first, not politics. And that's my platform. My vision is based upon returning San Francisco to its destiny as one of the greatest cities in the world. And that includes an art community that is no longer abused or ignored, but pushed. I intend to, as mayor, enlist the help of the many young San Franciscans here that come from a diverse community and match their hearts, desires, and talents with serving the city they love. So with that being said, and that was a real outline, I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
I'm going to ask the same question.
Yes.
It's kind of the priorities of the Arts Task Force, which was put together, bringing together a wide sort of spectrum of folks representing arts organizations and artists. And the primary focus out of that as a recommendation to the city was to really secure funding for the arts in a way that, like you really, we think, recognizes what the actual hotel tax requirements are. And the second is to actually focus on reorganizing in a way that makes the delivery of our commitment to the arts and the availability of the arts more effective and spread out more citywide. So as mayor, how would you go about doing that?
As mayor, and I think we all know that almost any source of revenue that's been dedicated over the last 15 years has been diverted. As an artist and a person who appreciates the different aspects of the art community, which is really nebulous and out there, we have to define it. We have to keep alive the artistic community that has made San Francisco unique from other West Coast cities and other cities in the country. We have to identify those areas that need our help. For example, when some of these decisions start coming out of the Planning Commission that wipes out areas that artists are able to thrive in, to live and show their work. And I'm talking about all different forms of art. We have to second guess that. We have to start having regulations that allows a certain amount of money to go into preserving that essential part of our culture. And I'm not just playing up to the arts community here. It's the same thing with anything. We cannot keep raising revenue for one purpose and then diverting it to other uses. So yes, I would, as your mayor, I would want specific ideas from your community as to where that money should go. And because I believe in the arts community, and that's everything from music to painting, and I've recently gotten into collaging with Matt Gonzalez, and let me tell you, that's an interesting field. But anything that depicts the heart and soul of the character of San Francisco through artistic means, I want to make sure that they're funded. And I will do everything I can to make sure that they're alive and growing and thriving in San Francisco, because that's what makes us different.
So given the awful economics that we all
Right.
are gonna face in the coming years,
Mm-hmm.
Starting now,
Mm-hmm.
how do you propose to keep the arts alive in terms of the city's commitment? You've got the San Francisco Art Commission and its functions,
Mm-hmm.
and then grants for the arts and its money. And the tourist industry, thank goodness, according to the newspaper, is thriving this summer. So, how do you see the economics playing out? I mean, the Neighborhood Arts Program has a very diverse kind of program with cultural equity grants that it gives to small and emerging artists of color. It has the Neighborhood Arts facilities that have traditionally been totally underfunded, even though the city owns those buildings. So how do you see the economics playing out?
Well, if the question is where will the money come from that I would appropriate, I think that's the question. There is so much waste and diversion in city government of funds that should be used for these purposes, that as your mayor, that's one of the priorities under budgetary and fiscal responsibility, eliminating that waste, identifying where the money should go to support the communities that we're talking about. I think the public is totally supportive of any monies that we can dedicate, that we can retrieve from wasteful means and dedicate it to certain purposes. I think the public is all for that. And so I think we can recoup and we can redirect and reappropriate monies that are now wasted and diverted, to answer that question.
Can you name anything specific that you've noticed that's being wasted, how money's being wasted? Because people always, everyone says, oh, I want to end waste.
Well, I can tell you a half a dozen things, but the thing that comes to mind right away is how much of our hotel tax is diverted to other uses. How much of our municipal workforce is inflated, and I'm a conservative figure would be 10 to 15% through special assistants that are politically appointed for political expediency. That's a huge chunk of the budget that could be reappropriated. I mean, I can go on and on and on this, but yes, Deborah.
So currently our structure is scattered all over the place.
Right.
You have grants for the arts, Arts
That's
Commission.
part of the problem.
Right, and there's a lot of pressure from some of the, like the War Memorial Board and the Fine Arts Boards who like it that way, because they can pay a lobbyist to go and make the argument for their part of the pie. The arts, and especially the Arts Commission, usually gets the short end of the stick, because it's controlled by
It's
how this
controlled
works.
by politics.
No one is responsible. No one is responsible for making sure the arts element of the master plan is implemented, or that anything gets sort of filtered through how it complies with it. So what would you do as mayor to make that dynamic different?
The fourth element that I talked about was administrative accountability. You have to single it out. You have to, as mayor, your job, your responsibility to the people is to single out that need and then promote it. Because you have to offset the lobbyists and the people that the insiders pay to play politics. You have to offset that. The only way you're going to do it is if you have a mayor who understands that for the people, here's what we want to put forth. So we have to fight that. That's my whole platform, going against the pay-to-play insiders that have undue influence in the say of where the money's going. That includes developers, that includes lobbyists, that includes their members who you appoint to the planning commission. They have to be aware of the needs of the people. And one of the instrumental or essential needs is our arts community. So as your mayor, I have no problem committing to that.
And will you support including the arts community in the America's Cup
Oh,
program?
absolutely.
Because currently there's no.
Absolutely. I mean, anything that's big that is taking that much away from the local business people down there, that's asking that much of our city resources to put on this thing, and I'm an ex-athlete, and I love it. But come on, let's get something back for the people that live here. So, I hope that answers that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Housing, can you talk about affordable housing? Because that's a major issue also for anybody that works in the arts, and especially because the live-work ordinance sort of died and got diverted away from its original intention years ago.
You remember in 2002, I sponsored the HOPE Initiative. That wasn't defeated by the tenants. That was defeated by the lobbyists. That was a proposal that allowed young, struggling artists and young families to buy the unit they live in. As a result, the studies have shown us over and over and over again that's the best way to attack affordable housing. We have a lot of regulations regarding affordable housing, and I'm all for that, but I want to go one step further. I want to provide a piece of the rock for those people who today don't have a place to live in, or are moved because circumstances are forcing them to evacuate their neighborhood. I go back to that whole proposal as something that's needed, and that may be a little bit too complicated or sophisticated to get into right now because it requires a long explanation, but yes, I think we have to pursue each and every means that allows people of limited income to stay here in San Francisco. One more.
I just have one more question.
Yes.
Because I know that you have some interesting issues with the Ethics Commission. As a candidate, I know how complicated it is to understand what the rules are, number one, but what is your sense of the success or lack of that Ethics Commission and its efforts to bring ethics into government?
Let me be very direct here. The Ethics Commission is the unethical commission. The hit they put against me as a result of the Treasure Island fiasco, where I went against the special interest. I was being asked by the mayor's office to approve contracts that were not bid competitively, and that's another thing I'd just like to talk about. To award the development of that island to the highest political donors of the former mayor. I stood up against that, and I'm very proud about it. As a result, I was accused of the Ethics Commission of unethical behavior, which, as you know, turned out to be false. We fought that and we won it. The fine that I paid was only to allow me to run in the mayor's office. We still are protesting it. It was a false fine. The Ethical Commission, I think, the Ethics Commission should be either eliminated or replaced with people who are truly concerned about ethical behavior. Competitive bidding is something that I just wanted to make a comment about. If that is one of the backbones of an open, democratic form of government. If we don't get back to that in every way, shape, and form, and this is what the Treasure Island thing was all about. If we don't get back to that, we don't have a leg to stand on in hoping that our government's working for us. And it's so important. It's one of the backbones of good municipal administration.
Thank you.
Again, that's taken in 2 or 3 issues at one time, but Tony, thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you're not asking me to sing a song. The last one I went to said sing a song.
And
Prove you're a
especially
singer.
here, especially here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Huh?
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.